Okay, thank you so much for being today on our masterclass, How to Start Writing Your Story with LaQuita Parks. She is an amazing publisher coach that will show you how to start writing your story. But I prefer that LaQuita introduces herself with what does she does, how does she does it, what is her I am, and what brought her to doing being a publisher and helping people write their story. So welcome, Laquita, and thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I love I Am Magazine. It has been just a pleasure for me to be able to be a contributor for I Am Magazine. And I love the not just the magazine, but the articles that you do are so wholesome. They're wholesome, they are very educational, and every single month there's something to learn from them. So I love it. I love it that it's international. I love it that there are people who look like me. That's important. There are people who look like me in the magazine, and there are a variety of different subjects to learn from. The thing that I love the most is that there are a variety of different stories in I Am Magazine. So because everybody has a story, right? 100% of everybody living and dead has a story. So if you don't mind, I would like to share my screen. Let me just introduce myself. My name is LaQuita Parks, as Yadira already said, and I am the owner of Pay Pro V Publishing. And Pay Pro V means pain, progress, victory, because I believe without pain, there is no progress, and without progress, there can be no victory. So I help people take their story from a thought to a realization, because I believe that 100% of everybody living and dead has a story. So right now, I think we're needing an icebreaker. I know I do, because I don't like when technology doesn't work, but guess what? That's life, right? Things don't always work out as you want them to. So I think I want to do a little icebreaker. We've already introduced ourselves off the recording, but I'd like to take a moment to actually ask you guys a question. Okay. So Susie, have you written a story yet?
I have somewhat.
Okay.
In school, I've had to write some stuff. I mean, since I'm a psychology major, and then I wrote the article for I Am Magazine. I am actually working on a kind of a self-help book in regard to room redux and room transformations. And that was for a media class that I was taking, this last course that I was taking. So I'm just continuing that until I start my dissertation. But personally, about me, the book is out there. I've got a couple of chapters, but I sometimes get stuck. It's hard to write. It's a lot easier, especially having been in school for so long. It's easier to talk about other people. When one experiences this, it's a lot easier than I feel. Yeah.
Awesome. Hold that thought. So okay. Yadira, because there's a follow-up question. So Yadira, have you written your story? And think of the words, your story.
I have written my story in a how do you say, contributors book. Mm-hmm. I wrote my story a little bit, not completely, like I would say I'm gonna write a whole book about it. It was just a chapter, but yes, I did write it, and I would love to rewrite it again.
Okay, good. Hold that thought. Jennifer, what about you? Have you written your story yet? Have you written a book yet?
Not a book. I have tons of diaries. I've thought when I was younger, I thought I wanted to write a book of my life. And then I just decided that I don't. But I would love to write about other people's lives. I am very interested on other people's lives. But if I change my mind, I do have a lot of my diaries still with me that takes me back to all the silly things I did in my youth. And therefore, the reason why I think that maybe I don't want to write a book.
I like that. I like that. You want to write about other people's lives. So back to you, Susie, and I know you're in and off the camera, and that's fine. If you were writing a book about your life, if you were writing a book about your life, what would your title be? Susie, what would your title be?
I'm thinking. Well, I've got a working title for the book that I'm currently working on, but I'm not gonna divulge it just yet. So if it were if it were just about me, there's a word that pops in my mind, and it's simply because my mother, this is the one word my mother has always used to describe me, and it's effervescent. So make it effervescence.
I love that. I love that. That's unique. That's different. That's unique.
I love it.
If you Google that word, you'll see that there are no book titles in that with that word. So that's unique and it stands out. I like that. What about you, Yadira? If you were writing a story about your life, what would it be called?
I don't know about my life. You know, I do have a book that I've been kind of trying to put it out there, which is the book of the story of my accident and how I spend the days recovering and the surgeries and all the days. It was like a diary that I started writing. And sometimes I go back to it and I really want to publish it out there because it's something that it's the transformation I had, and it's also the miracle that God gave me. So the title for that book, it is For the Power of His Love.
Oh, I like that. For the power of his love. And you know what I like about that, because I know you and I know that you're a spiritual person, the power of his love. I'm going to assume that you're talking about God's love.
Yes.
But that title can be, somebody could be looking at that and say the title, the power of that romantic interest love, the power of that husband's love. So I like that. That's a universal title. So Jennifer, what about you? If you were going to write a book about your life, what would your title be?
What on earth was I thinking? I am dead serious.
I love it.
Kind of satiric. I'm very sarcastic, and the mood in my house, a lot of people don't get it, but we're constantly, my family is very sarcastic and funny, and you know, we are constantly jabbing each other in a funny way, and we try to outdo each other. And you know, some people think, oh my God, they're so weird, but no, it's true love. And I think if I was to write a book, it would be in a satirical way. What on earth was I thinking?
I love that. And Jennifer, you would fit right in with my family. We do the exact same thing. My children and I, we do the exact same thing. And I like sarcastic humor. So when you're writing, you have to think about, why am I writing this story? So while you guys were doing it, I went back because I'm determined to pull up I spent so much time working on this presentation. So I think I figured out how to get it working. So let's see. Here we go. Okay, so you want to write your story. And this is a master class by LaQuita Parks. That's me. And I'm the owner of PayProV Publishing. And I already went through that. I am also an author, 5-time published author, publisher, a coach, and a mentor. Okay. I love people. And I love helping them heal through telling their story. It's difficult. It's hard. There's anxiety. I will never tell anybody that it's easy. If somebody says it's easy to write your story, that's fine, but it isn't easy. It is work involved. Even if you hire a writing coach, even if you hire a ghostwriter, it is still work that you have to do. So today in this masterclass, we're going to talk about how to start writing your story. And your story can be your memoir. It can be a biography, an autobiography. Your story can be a cookbook. Your story can be an anthology. Your story can be in the form of a poetry book. Your story does not have to be like anybody else's story, because guess what? You're unique. So your story needs to be unique to you. So today, here's my little agenda. Today, we are going to be identifying your 4+1. And who has an idea what what's your 4+1 when I say 4+1? Does anybody know what the 4+1 is? You know, have you heard of what's the 911? You know, what's the when I was growing up, they used to say, what's the 911? What's the news? You know, give me the gossip. What's the scoop? So we're going to identify your 4+1. And then we're going to talk about outlining your thoughts and moving past anxiety. And then we're going to look at my simple publishing made easy, my just start method, and then marketing yourself. Okay. And so this is interactive. This is not a lecture. This is not the only way, the only thoughts on publishing. There are a million different publishers and ideas. And I don't know if it's a million, but you can go on Google and it'll make you think there's a million. But there are a lot of different thoughts and ideas. This is mine. This is what works for me. Everybody, again, is different, and everybody has their way that works for them. And I love that, because just like there are, and I know, Jennifer, you're in the States, Yadira, you're in Europe, Susie, you're in Texas, I'm in Georgia, but I know you guys know McDonald's, right? I know you know McDonald's. So there's a McDonald's here on almost every corner. And there's a Burger King or Wendy's or whatever other burger joint across the street. And every time I pass by either one, there are cars and lines on each one. So somebody's buying Burger King, somebody's buying McDonald's. And that's the same thing with your story. Your story is your story. Okay. So let's get into it. Any questions before we start? Before we dive deep into this? Okay.
Nope.
So typically I have my little video, but the video is not going to work today, but that's okay. So we're going to start by identifying your 4+1. So we want to talk about the why. So the first one is the why. Why do you want to write your story? It's okay to want to write your story, because there are a lot of people who want to write the story, but actually wanting to do it and actually doing it is two different things. So I could want to go to the grocery store all day long, but until I actually get up and go to the store, I'm not going to accomplish a thing. I'm still going to be without groceries. I could want to get up and clean the house, but until I get up and do it, it's not going to happen. So why do you want to write your story? That's the first thing. That's the first question that you have to ask yourself when you set out, because the first thing that's going to enter in your head is like, I want to write a story. I want to write a story. So Susie, I know that you in your nonprofit work, you said that you were asked to write a story. So for your story, why do you want to write your own personal story?
Part of the reason I want to write my own story is so that people can kind of get an idea of why I started Room Redux and how that process looks, or what it kind of looks like, because I didn't know what I was doing. I don't know what I don't know, but I've learned a lot on the way. So that's just something that I would love to share.
I love that. You don't know what you don't know. I love that. And sometimes people get caught up in, I don't know what I don't know, and it causes them to stop instead of going forward and learning that what you don't know. So I like that. So Jennifer, I love your title, Jennifer. So why would you want to write your story?
I think probably to help people understand that life happens and that you should not let your past determine who you are today. Those are lessons that you have on earth, on this life, and you just have to move on. You just have to take it with a grain of salt, pick up your shoes and keep on walking. And hopefully you learn something from the bad experiences, and hopefully you become a little wiser, not do it again.
I love that. There was when I love notepads and writing and finding these nice little notepads with all these funny sayings. And I found one time that just says, honey, put your big girl panties on and deal with it.
Yes.
So
exactly,
I love that. It was funny.
feel.
It's like, okay, you know what? Deal with it. Whatever it is, just deal with it. What about you, Yadira?
Why? Why do I want to write the story? Well, first of all, I think it's a story to not to bring the past back, but actually to teach others that the same lesson that I had in the past, I can teach others, inspire others to say, well, if she did it, I can do it too. If she went through this, maybe I am going through this at this moment, and her story is going to help me go through it, because I can go, or I can have a better dream, a better future, and not just dwell in the past, but use it as a lesson and become victorious, and know that if you just go ahead and be strong, and not, like I said, not dwell in the past, but go for it and strong, and learn from the lessons. Like my sister said, okay, I did it, I'm not going to do it again, but go victorious out of it, and teach others that they can do it too. If I did it, they can do it too.
Yes, I like that. So that's the why behind your story. And I didn't share when I asked if you were writing a story about your life, what would it be called? My story would be called Trained by Pain. Trained by Pain. That would be the name of my story.
So tell us, why do you want to write your story?
So I want to write my story because I want to help other people to understand that you can do, God has equipped you to do anything that you want to do, that he needs you to do, no matter what your life circumstances are. So I deal in pain. I go through pain all my life, and I'll share that as we share my story as we go in a little further. But I don't know a day without pain. So pain has trained me, and it's not necessarily a great thing, but it has helped me understand that in the midst of whatever I'm going through, I can still have a quality of life. And that's why I want to write my story, because there are so many people who I've allowed pain to train me in the positive, to push me or catapult me to do those things that I want to do. There are others who have allowed pain to stop them dead in their tracks. They can't, they won't, they won't, they won't, they won't. And that's all they see. And for me, I can, I will. And that's my why behind my story. So thank you for putting me on the spot, Yadira.
I love it. I think that we all have a story to tell, like you say, and you do too.
Yes. So I have been interviewing authors. I have a podcast, and I'm on Facebook, and I interview authors all the time, and I pose questions because I want to know, why did you write your story? So these are real life authors who answer these questions for me. So first one, author M. Nelson said he wrote his story to change and transform the minds of men, because everything that's going on in the world right now, we caused it. I thought that was very interesting. Author L. Bennett said, grief. I didn't want to. I was grieving and sharing stories. Others found peace and inspiration, so finally agreed to put it all in one book. Maybe it will help other people. Author C. Johnson said, to educate and entertain children, teens, and their families. Author C. Snyder said, strangely, I wrote my book for myself to read. I'm an avid reader and found myself at a loss to find something I like to read. So I decided to write a book to entertain myself. I thought that was amazing. And then author T. Champion said, I want children to know the power of prayer, and that God hears them when they pray, any situation, anytime. And then M. Jewel said, I needed to find a release for all my locked away emotions. I didn't alter these at all. These were the actual comments of authors who've already written their stories, and some beautiful, beautiful stories. And when I posed the question, and that's to let you know that people are interested in getting out what's going on in them. They're interested in writing their stories. I got over 200 comments. So the next why is, what do you want to write about? So once you identify why you want to write, then you need to identify what do you want to write about? So we know that we all have a story, right? So if I'm writing Trained by Pain, I can't write every single aspect of my life in one book. It would be too long to write and too long to read. So I need to talk about, what about Trained by Pain do I want to write about? What in my story do I want to write about? So you can people write from different standpoints of their life. Well, for me, I believe that writing is therapeutic. Writing is therapy. It has been for me. It continues to be for me. And so people write from a place of pain. They write from a place from abuse. They write from a place of grief, a place of joy or happiness, a place of hurt, a place of progress. They've overcome something, a place of victory. And you guys see that: pain, progress, victory. That's the story of my life. I love it. Pain, progress, victory. People write from a standpoint of love and from a place of healing. So you have to determine, why I want to write my story, what I want to write about. And then you want to decide from where does my story begin? At what point or what direction in my life do I want to begin my story? Do I want to start as a baby? When I was a child, and my story, if I started my story as a baby, I would say I was born to a teenage mother. A teenage mother already had 2 children. I was the second child. We lived in a house with 10 people, with my grandmother, my mother, my 2 sisters, my uncle, my aunt, my cousin, my great grandmother, my great aunt, and another cousin, in a 1-bathroom house. So that's what I would say, that would be how I would introduce it if I was starting as a baby. Or if I started as a little girl, as a toddler, I would say when I was 4 years old, I went into the hospital to have my tonsils removed. While there, a nurse jabbed me in the thigh with a needle. I was 4. I could start as a teenager. I can say when I was a teenager, I wore braces. I wasn't able to go to the dances. I wasn't able to go and play with the other kids. You guys see the direction I'm going, how my story and how Trained by Pain is my story. I started as a baby in pain. I didn't have any control of that. As a toddler, I didn't have any control of that. As a teenager, didn't have any control of that. And then when I got in high school, I wasn't college material. I didn't feel like I was college material because I felt like I was the weakest link. I didn't have anything to offer. Or I could start from a standpoint of marriage. When I got married, I thought it would be a fairy tale. Nobody told me it wouldn't be a fairy tale. I was in love and I knew that my marriage was going to last forever. And then the nightmare started. Or I could start from a place of family. I got married. I had 3 beautiful children. They were the joy of my life. I love my husband. We had a beautiful life, and then tragedy struck. So you have to decide where you want to start in your life, on your life path. It doesn't have to be one of these. It can be, I was driving down the street in my brand new shiny pink Cadillac. So you decide where you want to start, where you want to begin. It's your story. So at what point in your life do you want to start your story? And then you want to identify who will be the characters in your story. I have coached a lot of people through telling their stories. And the first thing I have to tell them is, especially if it's a story of abuse or a story where somebody did something, unless you have a release form from them, you cannot use their name, or unless you want to be sued for libel. You can't say, my Uncle John Smith abused me. You can't say that. You can change the names, change the description. The story is still yours, but you want to make sure that you're not setting yourself up for a suit. So, but you have to decide who the characters in your story is going to be. Every single person that was born on this earth was born to a mother, whether that mother raised you or not, whether you were given away, whatever, you were born to a mother. So my mother is an actual character in your life. My father, my aunt, my preacher, my cousin. So you can change the names, but you have to decide who will be the character in my story. And as you're doing that, you know what your story is about. So once you determine what you're going to write about, then you'll know who those key players are going to be. So it can be, so we know 100% of everybody living or dead has a story. So you can write from, your family. Is it my friends are the key characters in my story? My family, my children, my son, my daughter, my best friends, my baby. Is it, my family, my grandma? So decide who in your story is going to be the character in your story. Okay. And then you want to know, when do you want to have your finished product in your hand? So you can write, but you always want to write with an end game in mind. So I'm writing this story. I know what I want to write about. I know who I want to write about. I know who the characters are going to be. I know why I'm writing my story, but when do I want to have it in my hand? That's important, because that's going to determine how serious you are about writing your story. I have people, I talked to somebody recently and I said, when do you want to have yours? So with Pay-Per-View Publishing, we take your story from a thought to a realization. And the realization is that story in your hand. And I said, when do you want to have your realization in your hand? And they said, by my birthday. And I said, okay, when's your birthday? Well, next year, March. And I said, well, okay. So here's the thing. If your realization is too far off, then what happens when life happens? Anybody can answer. If you set your goal or set your finished product too far away, when something happens, what's going to happen with your goal?
We'll move it.
Your story or your realization of that project is going to go on the back burner. Mm-hmm. Because for one, you're going to put it off. Oh, I don't need to work on that now. I have till next year. And so you're going to push that away and push it away. But if you say, okay, you know what, I want to have my story in my hand by the springtime, when life happens, that story is still going to be a part of your priorities. So you may move it around a little, but you won't push it out of the way. Okay. So make sure that you have a timeline in mind when you want to do when do you want to have your finished product in hand? Okay. And then that's when your finished product is in hand, it's published for the world to see. It's ready. Okay. So now let's talk about anxiety. How many of you have anxiety?
Yep.
I had anxiety because my technology wasn't working. And it started making me feel some kind of way. And I'm like, okay, wow, this is being recorded and this is a mess already, because technology is rearing its ugly little head. It's anxiety. So what are some things that cause anxiety? So specifically writing anxiety. So you see this lady's pulling her hair out, because when you're anxious about something, it makes you feel like you want to pull your hair out, right? So what is some writing anxiety? Some things when you start writing, what are some of the things that stop you from writing? And that might cause that anxiety. Susan, what do you think?
I think writer's block is one of the main things. And I actually had an assignment during that media course, and I had to write a paper about writer's block and how to avoid that. So I think understanding that you're going to have writer's block, it's bound to happen, and then writing down ways to overcome that. Maybe you walk outside and you get some sunshine, get a fresh breath of air, or write down something like, well, I've got this writer's block, but I'm going to go and, I don't know, put my clothes away, put my laundry away, and then I'll go back to it with a fresh mind. So yes, that's one of the things that kind of, has caused me anxiety. So I try to overcome it.
Absolutely. I like that. Changing your scenery.
Right.
If you're writing and you're feeling anxious, and listen, when you start writing, it is going to happen, because especially depending on what you're writing about, it's going to cause anxiety, because it's going to cause you to think about some things that you went through that didn't feel good. It might cause you to think about, for me, when I started writing my story, Walking Limitations, I had to start reliving some of the things that happened in my life, and it caused me to feel anxious. I started reliving some of the verbal and physical abuse from my ex-husband. I started reliving the pain of going to the doctor and they can't find my vein because I've been stuck so many times. And just the anxiety of going to this doctor and this doctor and this doctor, writing about that caused me to get anxious. And you want to, when you start feeling that way, the first thing you'll want to do is to push it aside and say, I'm not going to do this. I can't do this. Don't throw it away, but walk away for a moment. Go and grab a glass of water. Take a walk outside. If you have some laundry to do, take a moment, go put your clothes in the washer. Come back to your writing. You still feeling anxious? Get yourself a banana or an apple, a piece of fruit. You know what does it for me? The sunshine does it for me. I have my nice little comfy chair, and it's sitting right by the window, and I have this huge big window, and I pull the curtains back and I just sit in the sun. It really, really does help change the mood. And sometimes go to the park and write. Don't write at your desk, or don't write in your usual space. Go to Starbucks. It's amazing how much all of the acts, for me, I like background noise, but it's amazing how people watching will give you so many ideas and overcome the anxiety that you feel. Now, some of the things that causes writing anxiety is fear. You know, what are people going to say? I've got to write this. I don't want people to judge me. I don't want people to be angry with me. So that causes writing anxiety. Overthinking, thinking too much. Oh, you know, should I write this or should I not write this? You know, I don't know if I should put this down, or maybe that's overthinking. Not being prepared. Get prepared to write. Make sure you have, if you're writing, you know, pencil and paper, be prepared. Have your pen, have your paper. If you're dictating, if you're writing and you start to get anxious, you know, pick up your phone, turn on your recorder and start dictating. That relieves a lot of anxiety. And then not feeling that your story is good enough. That's the one thing that a lot of people go through, because what do we have? We have all these different books. We have millions and millions of books in every single genre. So if I'm writing a cookbook, there are a million different cookbooks for me to look at and say, oh, that cookbook's better than mine. If it's a memoir, my story isn't as interesting as that story. So not feeling good enough. The one thing that you can do, just like Susie said, change your environment, change your way of thinking, get outside of yourself and accept the fact that you are going to have some anxiety. You are going to have some writing block. But if you come up with a plan, have a plan, how do you overcome it? What's your plan? Okay, so if I'm going to start writing, I already know if I'm starting to get feel some kind of way, what's my plan? My first plan is I'm an essential oil type of person. So the first thing that I do, I have my oil rollers. I take this bad boy off and I inhale, or swipe it here, and then I just breathe. Do some breathing exercises. It helps tremendously. Another thing that I do, I have something that's called Stress Away. And again, I'm an oil person, and sometimes it has peppermint in it. I'll just spray it on top of my head. And oh my goodness, it smells so good. And it just changes your mood. That's my way. That's my plan. And of course, get up and walk away. That your oil. Don't you love it?
Trust away. That's my
Don't
favorite.
you love
Yes.
it? Love it.
Yes.
It
Love
does
it.
it not work? Doesn't it work?
It does work.
It absolutely works. So that's my plan. So have a plan. And when you work the plan and trust the plan that you made, then you will overcome your writing anxiety. Okay, you'll get past it. So how do you start writing your story? Well, there are a lot of people that may say, oh, well, you got to go through a cleanse. You know, you got to clear your mind and you got to do some breathing and you got to do all of this setting up and you got to, you know, shampoo your hair, all these rituals. Well, my idea is to just start. No matter what you do, you're going to have anxiety, you're going to have setbacks, you're going to have setups to have setbacks. You're going to be picked out to be picked on. You're going to have life is going to happen. People are going to get sick. You're going to get sick. Your family's going to get sick. People are going to pass away. Life is going to happen. All you have to do is just start. And this is my strategy. I've taught this to my clients. I've taken them from a thought to the realization, and just the simple, and this is my strategy on writing and publishing made easy. So this is just writing. So you're going to start. So the first thing you're going to do, you're going to set some goals, and then you're going to think positively, and then you're going to acknowledge why, and then you're going to retrain your brain, and then you're going to take baby steps. So set goals. You're going to set realistic goals. And so how many of you, and I know, Susie, I don't even have to ask you, but I kind of think you are, how many of you are overachievers?
Yes.
That's
why we're
my
here.
hashtag. Yeah, my hashtag is do all the things. Do all the things.
So I think it's safe to say that all of us on this call in this class today are overachievers. I am definitely an overachiever. My children told me one day, my daughter said, well, Mom, I thought you were trying to be Miss Super America. And I'm not trying to be Miss Super America. I'm just doing me. That's my personality. And so typically we do a lot of different things. We have a lot of things going. I know Susie is, she put the thumbs up. I know she is because she's working on her PhD. You have to be an overachiever. You didn't close off the world and say, okay, I'm just going to work on this. You're doing this, and you went back to school. Okay, I applaud you. I did that too. Going back to school with three children and a full-time job. It was difficult, but my children hated it because I was on the dean's list, and I would tell them, if I can go to school full-time, work a full-time job, and take care of the three of you by myself, surely you can bring home other than C's. So they were not allowed to bring C's home. They could not. B's are better. They could not bring, and they used to hate it. They was like, okay, when the report card came, are there C's? Are there any C's on there? Before they brought it in the house, and they had to write a letter to tell me why I have a C. Why do I have a C? They didn't like that very much. So set some realistic goals. I'm a big proponent of journaling. I love to journal. I'm not consistent in the journal, but I am consistent in note taking. I am a very, very consistent note taker. So use a journal to keep a record of your daily writing, your daily or your weekly writing progress. So if I'm setting a goal for myself and I'm writing this book, Trained by Pain, I'm going to set a realistic goal. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to look at my schedule, and I'm going to say, okay, I need to set a goal every day. I need to write every day. Okay, I can write 2 hours a day. That's not realistic for me because I don't have time to write for 2 hours a day. I'm reading manuscripts, publishing manuscripts, editing manuscripts. And that's just work. That's not even, I have my daughter and my grandchildren, and you got to eat somewhere in between there. So a realistic goal for me might be, okay, you know what? I'm going to write 15 minutes a day in the morning, 30 minutes a day. I'm going to get up 15 minutes early in the morning, and I'm going to go to bed 15 minutes late. And those 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes at night, I'm going to focus on writing my story. So every day for 30 minutes, 15 in the morning, 15 at night, I'm going to write. That's my realistic goal. And then find someone who will hold you accountable. Let people know. I have coached people who nobody knows that they were writing a story. Nobody knew that they wanted to write a book. And so when they hit a wall, they didn't have anybody to kind of give them some encouragement. So find somebody to hold you accountable. That person or persons or group of people will also give you encouragement. So join a group. I'm in several writing groups. Join author groups and tell them what you're doing. Ask questions. They will help you. They will give you some tips. Okay. And then keep a positive attitude. I'm a huge proponent of positive attitude. I can. If you start thinking you can't, then guess what? You won't. So set goals. And then start strong, finish strong. Okay. And then you want to think positive. Think positive. So you have the negative self-talk and you have positive self-talk. My negative self-talk is, I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm not going to be able to do this. Somebody's not going to like it. It's too hard. It's not going to happen. Nobody's going to like it. Nobody's going to read it. It's not going to be good. I don't know how to write. Though that's negative self-talk. But positive, I can do this. This is something new. This is a challenge for me. I'm going to do this. Oh, you know what? I've never done this before, but I can try. Oh, you know what? I saw that. Let me look this up and see how I can do this. So think positive. Figure out how you can do it. Make a plan to do it. So change your negative thinking to positive thinking. And then you're going to acknowledge your why. Am I writing this? Is this book that I'm writing, is it going to entertain people? Jennifer, your book would definitely, the title alone was entertaining. And I could see that as an antidote or a comic book, a book of comedy or short stories that are funny. I can see that, because with the sarcastic humor, I would love that. So you will be entertaining. Susie, you're writing about how you started your nonprofit. So you're informing people. You're sharing with them your life and how you did it. So you want to entertain, you want to acknowledge. You want to entertain, you want to inform. You also might want to teach somebody how to do something. Maybe a self-help book, how to. You also might want to publicize something. You want to show people that, I've done this, I've overcome this. So you want to acknowledge your why. So when you're starting, your START. So S, you want to set goals. T, T, you want to think positive. And then A, you want to acknowledge your why. So while you're doing that, you got to keep it concise, kiss it. Keep it simple, silly. And then you want to retrain your brain. So sometimes when we grow up with a certain way of thinking. We grow up thinking that we can do this or we can't do that. We grow up thinking how we're taught is sometimes it drives our thinking. And when we open our mind to different opportunities, to different things, and think in different ways, we retrain our brain, we retrain the way we see things. So if you see things as the glass half empty, see it as a glass half full. If you see things as I can't, start seeing it as I can. If you're standing at the bottom of a hill and you're looking and you're saying, wow, that hill is too big for me to climb. Well, just take a look over to the next hill, because there's a bigger hill. So retrain the way that you see things, retrain your brain. And then take baby steps. You don't have to, you do want to set a realistic goal. You do want to think positively. You do want to acknowledge your why, and you do want to retrain your brain, but you also want to take baby steps. Start out setting your goals, but also you want to forgive yourself if you don't hit that goal that day. So because remember, life happens. So if you're not able to write, you may not be able to write, say your goal is, I'm going to write 2 chapters a day. Well, you may start writing and the phone rings and something happened and you can't finish it. Well, the next day, don't spaz out and say, I didn't make my goal. Just start over, give yourself some grace, take baby steps, because guess what? Even babies get where they're going, right? Babies who cannot walk get to where they need to be. They start crawling, and before you know it, they have touched everything in the house. I know I have 4 grandchildren, and they talk, one that's 9 months and she's crawling, and she'll be at the door. When you look around, she's at the kitchen door. So she moves quick. So take baby steps. So don't rush. So you want to take this step by step and go through those steps. They will definitely help you get to where you want to be in your writing and on your writing journey. And so then you want to promote yourself. So let's talk about promoting yourself. So we've gone through writing your story, right? You started writing your story. You have overcome the anxiety. You've gotten through the writing blocks. You have gotten through your chapters. You have gotten through, what goes in your story. So and before we talk about promoting yourself, we talk about the outline. I think I missed that. We're going to talk about what goes into your story, right? So your story has several different components. Okay. So in those components, you have, what's the first thing about your book? What's the first thing that people will recognize when they see your book? I'm going to stop sharing for a second. What's the first thing? Your book cover, right? Your book
cover and the title, I guess.
Yes, that's it. The cover and the title. That's the first thing. So people are going to be drawn to your cover and your title. So sometimes the title of a story and the cover can kind of be misleading, because you can look at a cover and think the book is going to be about one thing, and then you can look at the title and think it's going to be about another thing, right? So the first thing, you want to have your title, you want to have your cover. Now, I work backwards sometimes. So when I'm working with people and they have not started writing their story, because there are different phases. So there are people who have not started writing their story, and we're mainly talking about, that's our audience right now. Those people who haven't written their story and want to write their story, right? So that's the first group of people. Not right. I got a story. I know I have a story. I just don't know how to start, right? And then you have the second group of people who have started. They know what they want to write about. They've started writing a story, but they've gotten stuck. It's like they're at the roadblock writing wall, and they can't go forward. They can't go backwards. They can't go left, can't go right. They're stuck. And then there is the third person who is finished. They've got their book written and they're just ready to publish, right? So the first people, I work backwards. So I provide an outline. And so what I say is, and let's kind of do this exercise, and you don't have to write it down, you can do it in your head. So you're writing a book, not the titles that you just gave me, but you're starting to write your story. So I want you guys to, if you have a piece of paper, write. If you don't, that's fine. So I want you guys to do this. I want you to take your piece of paper and number it 1 through 5, just for the sake of this class. Okay. And so I want you to think of your story. So, and go by the title that you just gave me. You can do that because Jennifer, I'm just so interested in seeing what yours is going to be.
I might just pick up.
My story is Trained by Pain, right? So go number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So in your story, what would your first chapter be titled? And then what would your second chapter be titled? So go through and name your first 5 chapters. So I'll give you a few minutes to think about that. And I'm doing this too. Okay. Everybody ready?
Sure.
Okay, so we always pick on Susie first. So we're gonna pick on you first, Jennifer.
Love it.
And here we go. That's
So,
my first one.
and here we go. Okay.
And here we go. My second one is I should have known better. My third one is and that is why. My fourth one is really. And my third one is and there I go again.
I love it. I love it. And so you would go through and you would go for the first chapter, you would write everything that you wanted to write about it, everything until you felt like you could not possibly write anymore. And then you have your first chapter. And then you go to the chapter 2. And then you write everything that you want. And that keeps your thoughts organized. So you know that this is what I'm writing about right now. So I'm not going to write about here I go again, because I'm writing about I should have known better. So that's kind of the outline that you would go through in the midst of writing your story. So what about you, Yadira?
Oh my goodness. Okay, I took another title.
Okay.
Because it's the real story of my life, but I named it Seriously. I think it kind of reminds me of all the things that my sister also wrote, but the first chapter will be how all it started. And the second will be, is this for real? The third one, okay, I thought I learned.
I love it. I love it.
The fourth one, okay, I think I have it now.
Oh.
And then the fifth one, I'm still learning.
I'm still learning. I'm still learning. I love it. I love it. Susie?
So I think I mentioned that I have a book out there that I've been writing, and it's one of those that is tougher to write. And so I have some chapter titles, but I've gone back and forth because I don't know. And my first ideas were song titles, because y'all know just as well as I do that songs can trigger, right? Scents can trigger, all of these things, but songs can trigger thoughts in our minds. And so that's what I wanted to do. But I've talked to Michael about it, my son, who is kind of helping me write it. And he said, I don't know what the laws are, what trademarking laws, copywriting laws are like in regard to song titles or song lyrics. So I have a few of them. I had them all lined out, but I'm having to tweak them. But the first one is Dusk, and part of some of the lines from a song, which is the candle lights are gleaming, and it's a Willie Nelson song that kind of triggers me. And the next one is Restaurant, and it's the lines are something about watching the faces in the crowd, and they don't remind me of anything. It's a Soundgarden song. So that's kind of where I'm heading. I don't have all of them just yet. Like I said, I had all the song lyrics, but I'm having to tweak the titles. And I don't know, LaQuita, you may be able to tell me about that copywriting or trademark laws when it comes to songs. I don't really know.
Yeah, with that, if you're using song titles, you have to get permission. So your son's right with that. If you're using a quote, or you just, as long as you give the person credit, if they're in your, you have to cite them, you have to add them to like an appendix, or if you're saying Love is Like a River by Johnny Carson, you have to get permission from them. But if you're using the actual song, the titles, you have to get permission from them.
What if I'm just using some lyrics? What if I'm just doing a quote from some lyrics? Is that okay to cite them?
I think, yeah, I think that's okay, as long as you cite it. You have to make sure you cite it. Mm-hmm. And so you can cite it in the midst of your paragraph or in the midst of your chapter, and make sure you do it in the back of the book, in your appendix, both places, just to make sure that you cover yourself. Okay.
So that might be a better idea then, to just come up with maybe one-liner titles, and then right underneath, how sometimes they do a quote in books.
Yes.
Maybe do something like that.
Exactly. One thing I'll say too is, when you're writing, one of the things that I like when you're writing a book, because I call them like LaQuita-isms. These are things that I say all the time. I'd like to try to use as many of my own quotes or my own isms in my book that I'm teaching somebody else, because in your book, you're the expert. Mm-hmm. So you want them to draw closer to you, and also you learned from somewhere else. So of course, citing that. But when it comes to quotes and things like that, I like to do my quotes, and then they can reference, and then you can see, like in my book, I write poetry. So I like to, in whatever else I'm doing, to say, okay, this is a LaQuita-ism. So I use quotes, but I try to not have so many quotes by other people as I would my own.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that makes sense. I've gotten to where I cite myself in my own papers.
Yes, exactly.
Weird thing, but
exactly. Hey, it's your work, because guess what? Somebody's going to read it, and then they're going to be citing you in their paper. So that's going to be a great thing, because they're going to be like, okay, this is the expert. This is who I got it from. And then it's going to cause them to go through. And when you read, and when you're looking and reading, especially how-to books, I'm reading Susie, and Susie got this from this person, so I'm going to go and look up that person. So you want them to connect to you, so that you can help them, or coach them, or give them that area of expertise from you. So I like that. Man, I can't wait for your book to come out. I cannot wait. So well, I did Trained by Pain, and my chapters were Motivated to Continue, Not Another Shot. Number 3, Learning How to Walk. Number 4, Tripping, because I can't tell you how many times I tripped and broke my ankle. And number 5, Don't Cross the Street. And those are they're funny stories from there. So in that, so you want to know, so those are your title, your book title. Within that, you can decide who you want to dedicate your book to. You can dedicate your book to, there are people who dedicate their book to, I'd like to dedicate this to all the children in the world, or I want to dedicate this to my mom, or my grandmother, or my sister, or my family, or my love. You can dedicate that. I've also had people to dedicate their book to, in an opposite fashion, to that person who said I'd never be anything. To, my teacher who said that I would never amount to anything when I was 8 years old in her class. So because they're wanting to show that person that I did amount to something, I did write this. And sometimes that person who did that negative thing is a driving force for you to do those things that you need to do. So you decide who you want to dedicate to, and then acknowledge. Who do you want to acknowledge? I want to acknowledge my sister. In one of my books, I acknowledged, I did a dedication to my grandmother, and then I acknowledged all of those people, because my grandmother died right before my second book, Good Morning Friends, came out. And so I dedicated it to her, but I also acknowledged all those people who kind of held me up in the process of that. And I didn't know I was going to be writing a book about it, but I dedicated them. So make sure, and sometimes people are careful who they acknowledge, because, you know, if you acknowledge one person, you don't acknowledge the other person, they get upset. Oh, she acknowledged this person, she didn't acknowledge me. So be very intentional when you do that. And then your table of contents. So you have, you know, your forward. Every book doesn't have to have a forward. I've written several books and only one of them has a forward. And of course, a forward is having somebody who knows you, who can speak to your level of expertise, who can speak to who you are as a person. That would be the person to write your forward. For instance, Susie, your son would be a perfect person to write your forward if you hadn't already found somebody to write a forward. I had
Good idea.
Bible. Yes.
I've actually written forwards for people
yes.
just recently. Yeah, so that's.
So your son would be a perfect person. I published a book by a lady who wrote a book based off of another book that had already been written. And I suggested that she have the person who wrote the book, the original book, do her forward. And he said yes. So, you know, be purposeful in that. And then your introduction, you always start strong. You want to start strong. Have you ever picked up a book and start reading the book and you were like, okay, it was kind of boring? So when that happens to me, I pick up the book, I start reading the book. If it doesn't pick up for me, I go to the back of the book. And that's LaQuita's thing. I go to the back of the book and I want to see how it ends. If it doesn't end well, if it's still boring, and I put the book down. So you always want to start strong. If I go to the back and it's kind of like, wow, it makes me curious, then I'll go back and continue reading the book. So you always want to start strong introduction, and you want to end strong. Okay. And then you want to align your chapters. That's what we did. That quick little exercise was the chapter, and name your chapters and make sure your chapters are interesting. Your chapter can also be the title of your book. So one of the titles, and I think you did that, Jennifer, one of your chapters was the first title that you gave for your book, if I'm not mistaken.
Here we go.
Yep. So that can be your book, because your book can, so your book is talking about your life. So that chapter title can be your book title. Okay. And then conclude again. Your conclusion needs to be strong. You need to wrap it up. And when you wrap your book up, when you wrap your story up, you want to leave them with something, leave them a lesson. What's the lesson? And once you leave them with the lesson, then leave them with a way to fix it. So you're giving them a solution. You're helping them find a solution. And then that's where the about the author comes from. So you've written a book about something. Now you want to tell them, this is who I am. You know, I have a PhD, or I have a nonprofit, or I have, you know, I own a magazine, or I'm an editor. You want to list those accolades, and then you want to tell them how they can reach you. I tell my clients all the time, especially when they've written their books and they have, you know, just their about themselves, and it's like, well, how are they going to reach you? And he's like, oh, it's like, you've written this great book. So Susie, you're writing a great book, and you're telling me about your steps and what you did to get your nonprofit. And then, so you tell me about you and where you went to school, and then that's it. So then you're not telling, and so I want to know more. I want to know, how can I reach you? How can I might want to donate to you. I might want to be a part. I might want to collaborate, but I don't know how to reach you, because I can go online and I can Google you, but do you know there's somebody named LaQuita Parks? I Google myself. And if you Google me, if you guys Google me right now, you'll see me in Google. I think I come up first, LaQuita Parks, and you'll see all this, but entwined, maybe 7 or 8 down, there's another LaQuita Parks who is not me. That's not me. So if I don't give the information on how they can connect with me, then they may be reaching the wrong person. or they're like, oh man, I had some great things to share or give to Susie or Jennifer or LaQuita or Yadira, but I couldn't reach them. So in that about the author, you know, let them know how they can find you. Follow me on social media. Email me if I can help you. You know, I don't put phone numbers, definitely don't put phone numbers, but your social media links, definitely, your website, your email address. Make it easy for them to find you and to support what you're doing. Okay. And then remember, you don't have to put every single aspect of your story in one book. I have, and I usually have it, it's over there. I have a friend who wrote a book, and that book is about 750 pages. And I should have had it over here with me so I can show you. I bought the book to support her. This was before I became a publisher. This was years ago. I didn't even know I wanted to be a publisher, but I'll never read the book. I won't. Not because it may not be a good book, but it's 750 pages. The only 750 page book I had to read was when I was in college, and I didn't have a choice, and I had to write my papers. That was the only book that I read. Somebody did her a disservice. They should have told her that one book could have been 3. It could have been a series, because you're talking about the same subject through the whole book. So everything that you want to talk about in your life, that's why having an outline is important, because it helps you keep your thoughts organized. So when you're writing and you feel like you're all over the place, you know, go back to your outline and say, okay, I'm supposed to be writing about this. This is what I'm supposed to be writing about. Okay. And give yourself the best possible opportunity to have people connect. So connect with your readers. Okay. And then the last thing that we want to talk about is promoting yourself. So you have your book, you've gone through all the steps. You've gone through the writing process. You've gone through the pains. You've overcome that anxiety of getting started and writing your story. But guess what? Anxiety rears its ugly little head again after you finish your book, because now you have to market your book. Now, I advise to start marketing your book before you start writing your book. So don't wait until you finish the last page or you publish your book to start marketing. Tell everybody that you're writing a book. Everybody, hey, I'm writing a book. I'm writing a book. I'm working on my book. I'm writing a book. My book is called, and Susie, I agree. You don't want to give out all details of your book, of course, because you don't want to look up and see that somebody has captured your title, or somebody has captured the essence of your story in theirs before you've had a chance to publish it.
One thing that I did, because, you know, like I said, I was in that media course, and it's publishing and writing a self-help book. And I got great encouragement from my mentor, the professor. And he said, you need to keep writing, because there's nothing like room redux. There's nothing out there on this research. And so what I did, because he gave me just a shining feedback on my book proposal. I had to give it, you know, I turned in a 38-page book proposal with the titles of the self-help chapters. That book, it's a different one than the other one I'm telling you about. And I posted it on Facebook, and I just posted exactly what he said. And so that made everyone, you know, very aware. And I got a lot of feedback and a lot of reactions to it. So everyone knows, and it helps also to keep us accountable, I think, too, because I've had people say, so when is that coming out? How's it going?
Exactly. I've started, I had several clients I would start to do, I do a spotlight. So we spotlight them, and it just has a cover, and it has your book. And that cover is sometimes not the real cover. And it has the title of the book. And every single time I'll have the author say, wait. When it gets out there, they know there's going to be a spotlight. But when they start getting that feedback, oh, wow, congratulations. I didn't know you were writing a book. When is it going to be out? How can I purchase it? They get all anxious again. And wait, I'm not ready. But it does keep you accountable, because now the world knows. And now you have to start writing your book. So let people know. And have conversations. I told one of my authors, he wrote a book, children's book, never said anything, ordered the books. And I said, you have to talk to people about your book. You have to market yourself. You have to promote yourself. And he said, I'm shy about talking to people. You only need to talk to one. Just start talking. And it took a minute. And I said, if you tell people that you wrote a book, if you put it out there, they will buy it. And so I finally said, after publishing almost the 5th book, I said, I can publish your book, but if you don't talk about your own book, it's not going to work. So I said, you just have books. That's it. You just have books. And he said, he thought about that. And it's like, wow, I'm writing and I'm publishing, but I'm not marketing my books. He just opened his mouth and started talking. And this was just in the later part of January to now, he has probably sold about 500 copies of his book. Wow. And he has children's books. And so he goes to daycare centers, and it's on my website. I posted it. He goes to daycare centers and he'll call them. And every time, they not only will buy the one, they buy all 3 of his books every single time. So every single day, he's making between $300 and $400 in book sales every single day, simply for just having the conversation. So when you're marketing, you have to promote yourself. Number one, you start by having the conversation. Tell people what you're doing. Post it on social media. Get in those groups that are like-minded. If you're a mommy and your book is about mommies, get in a mommy and me group. If you're an educator and you're writing about education, get in an education book. If you're an author, get in an author group. But have the conversation. And then you have to set a budget for marketing. Some people like, oh, I want to be on TV, or I want to be on this, I want to be on that, but you don't have a budget. You don't have a budget to do so. There are a lot of free things that you can do to market. You can do a lot of free things, and word of mouth and social media is one. But you got to decide if you want to elevate yourself, if you want to go to that next level, if you want to be seen on television, if you want to be in a magazine, if you want to be in an anthology, if you want to be on the radio, if you want to be on a podcast, you have to do. Those are things that you can do virtually, but it costs. Some of it costs a lot. Some it costs a little. And then you got to get outside of your comfort zone. Go outside, attend book signing events. There are a lot of book signing events. And now that things are starting to open back up, there are more opportunities. So the pandemic gave us a world that we didn't know existed to be able to market our books to be able to market ourselves to. I met Yadira in that way, through social media. And if we hadn't had the pandemic, I would probably still be working my 9 to 5 and I wouldn't have met Yadira and not have an opportunity to be exposed on an international platform. And so there are podcasts. So you have to promote. And the third thing is, do not count on somebody else to market you. Market yourself. Be in charge of that. You can have a publicist, you can have a publisher, you can have a market, whoever, all these people who market. You can have a producer, director, candlestick maker. You can have all of those people, but you have to drive that, because you want to make sure that when they're marketing, that they're marketing on a platform that fits your brand. Because guess what? When you start to promote yourself, you're a brand. You're your own brand. I'm not just Pay Pro V Publishing. I'm LaQuita Parks. I am a brand. I stand for something. So I have to make sure that my platform stands for what I stand for. So I can't be on a platform that's promoting something that's sexually explicit. That's not my platform. That's not my brand. So when you're promoting, make sure that you are promoting on a brand that represents you. And you want to make sure, because that will backfire. You want to make sure that your followers, that you are promoting on a brand that you don't lose your followers, because there are some people who will promote you in the beginning, but when they start seeing that your brand is not in conducive or in conjunction with their brand and what they represent, that you will start to lose your audience. Okay. Promote. Make sure that you, when you're writing your story, create an outline. Make sure that your outline has everything that you need to make sure that your book is successful. You want to make sure that you start yourself. You follow those strategies. You want to set goals, write every day, 15 minutes a day. You want to keep a journal. And sometimes you want to find out there are lessons in everything. Look around your life. If you're looking for a writing prompt and you're thinking one day, what am I going to write about in my story today? Think about some of the things that happened to you. Think about what happened to you at the grocery store. Think about what happened to you in the car. Sometimes we're in traffic. I don't know if you guys have a lot of traffic, Yadira, where you guys are. We have traffic here. Major traffic, and sometimes you can sit in traffic long enough to read a chapter in a book. No lie. You guys know Georgia, right? No lie.
Yes, I live there. I know that's
yes.
True.
Yes. So look at the lessons. And then with that anxiety, silence that inner critic. Silence that person that says I can't. Silence the person that's saying you can't do it. Silence that person. As I have a good friend that's from Guyana. She says, dead that, dead it, just dead it, kill it. And then, you know what, if you're writing a story about an event, do your research. Make sure you research, and read about it. If you're writing a story, if you're writing your memoir, there's nothing wrong with reading a memoir somebody else has written to get ideas on how they lined it. There's nothing wrong with that. So, reading is fundamental, and embrace rejection and criticism, because guess what, guys? Everybody is not going to like your story. There are 7 billion people on the planet. Everybody is not going to like your story. The people who are close to you, they're not going to agree with your story, and that's okay. Embrace that. Embrace it. Embrace the no's, because the yes will taste that much better. Okay. Pay attention to the writing in your life. It's your writing. Pay attention to your writing style. And in writing, sometimes if you're a new writer, you don't necessarily know what your writing style is, but you can reach out to me, and I'll tell you how you can reach me. I'm a storyteller. So I'm very descriptive. I'm a descriptive writer. So when I write, I tell you what the hospital looked like. So it's almost like a children's book. You're walking down the street and it's colorful, and it's this and it's that. So pay attention to that, and challenge yourself. And you know what? Be okay with you. Be okay that your story looks different, because guess what? It should. Because you are an individual, you are unique, and your story should represent who you are. So I am LaQuita Parks, and I am publisher, the owner of Pay Pro V Publishing, and I can help you take your story from a thought to a realization. So if you have a story, and I know that you do, because 100% of everybody living and dead has a story. Writing a story, wanting to write a story, that's just the beginning. That's the thought. Actually doing the work, you have to do the work to take paper and pen and create your story. You have to do the work. If you have a story and you started it and you're stuck, I can help you get unstuck. And if you're ready to publish your story, I can help you take your story from a thought to a realization. You can reach me at payprovpublishing.com, and that's PAPROVI publishing.com. And you can email me at payprovpublishing@yahoo.com, and I can help you get started. I love helping people heal through telling their story, because there's somebody waiting on the other side of your story so that they can heal from their story. And that is my story, and I'm sticking to it. So thank you, ladies, for having me.
Thank you, LaQuita. This has been fantastic. I was on the edge of my seat, no doubt about it.
Thank you. Thank
Yes,
you very
thank
much.
you. Thank you so much. It helps so much. It gave more awareness and clarity, especially for me, and I guess Susie too, for that we are still writing, or I want to still write. I still have the book and the struggling, like you say, what else do I write? Or how do I put this? Or maybe it's wrong. And it's there, and it's there. And sometimes I take it out and start reading, and then it's like, maybe not. But it really gives this push to keep on doing it, because it's something that we are here for. If
Yes.
we have that dream on our hearts to write it down, to write a story, to write a self-help book, whatever it is, I think you gave us that push, and I am very happy for it. And thank you so much
You're
for your
welcome.
presentation, because it was very helpful.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And you know what? I appreciate the I Am magazine so much. I went back and I was talking to somebody and I said, let's pull it up. And I was reading and I said, oh, I didn't see that story. Wait. And I said, I need to go back, because sometimes I look and say, okay, well, let me see my story. You guys do such a great job in publishing those stories, but seeing them and it's like, oh, wow, the stories are wonderful stories. And not just, they're not superficial. They are full of substance. And there are a lot of magazines out there. There are a lot, and they don't do that. They don't produce work that people can grow from and learn from and actually get some self-help, even from nutrition to, from nutrition to, how to live well in your mind, your body, your spirit. I love that. And I love being a part of that. So, and Susie, thank you so much. I'm so interested in what you do. I am going to connect with you. And if you can put your information in the chat so that I can get it. I would love to follow you and see what you're doing. I can't wait for your book to come out. I'm so interested in that.
I already friended you on Facebook.
Okay.
Jennifer, I couldn't find you, but let's find each other.
We'll reach out to you. I think actually I sent you an invitation, but I will double check.
Awesome. Do we have somebody join us?
Yeah, somebody just joined.
Okay.
Muna. Welcome, Muna. So sorry that you just come when we are finishing it. How are you?
Will there be a replay, Yadi?
Yes, we record this and we are going to add it on the members page, so you can go back to watch this masterclass, which is very important for all of us, and also for the members that haven't been able to come. And they can rewatch it. You can rewatch it again. You can learn again.
Good.
You can study, learn. You can get in contact with LaQuita.
Yes.
And not only that, but we are also having this opportunity together with LaQuita LaQuita and I Am magazine to write an anthology book. An I Am anthology book, and we are giving the opportunity to many authors and people that had never written a story to be able to come and say, okay, I want to write my story. And that's where LaQuita comes, because she's going to be coaching them. She's going to give them sessions of how to start until the end. So LaQuita, you're more expert on this. Do you want to talk a little bit about it?
Yes, absolutely. So with the anthology, you have an opportunity to share your story, include your story in it's powerful stories of the heart. And with that, with the anthology, you submit your story. So you become a published author, of course. And we edit your story. We actually create the content so you can market your story, and you become a part of we do a bestseller campaign, become a part of a bestseller campaign. And it absolutely gives you the opportunity to promote yourself on a global level as well, and be a part of a work with there are different authors from different walks of life who are sharing the thing that brings them together is the heart. I believe that there are powerful stories of the heart. So I like to write from the heart center. And when you write from the heart, your heart-centered place, it's more authentic and you connect with your readers more because they know that it's real. You know, it's not fluff. You're not just rambling and just making up something. You connect with them, and then there are better opportunities for you to grow your following as well. So the anthology will I'll publish the anthology on behalf of I Am Magazine. So it's to the authors. It's open to all authors, right? Any authors. We extended it to I Am Magazine authors too. And it's reasonably priced. You know, you get your work edited and you will receive your edited work back, and you will also have an opportunity to market that as your work because it'll be your book too. So it's a lot of great benefits to being a part of an anthology.
It is actually, it is wonderful because we want to help others to tell their story. And is there something else, Nikki, that Jen, that you want to say about it?
Well, maybe I'll have something ready for that. I think it's a great opportunity for everybody to start writing. I think everybody should write at some point. It doesn't matter if it's a small article on a hobby or whatever, but I think it's something that we all should dabble on just for the experience. So for all of those out there that are thinking about it or tempted to do it, this is a great start. LaQuita is a great coach. I've enjoyed this thoroughly, and it has encouraged me to maybe start putting some words into paper. And I'm telling you, you're gonna miss out if you don't take advantage of this now. You're gonna regret it when this comes out, and you've missed the excellent coaching and the opportunity to be published.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. We do have a special price only for today. The price normally is $679. But only for today, we're gonna give a special price. We're gonna give it for 550 euros, and you can pay it in 3 times. So if you're interested in being part of the project, well, let us know. Susie, you know where to find us.
I sure do. And thank you for having me today. Thanks, LaQuita, for all your wonderful encouragement and the information. You know, I always say time's going to pass anyway. So, you know, just to piggyback on everything you said, just do it.
Just do it.
Right. Just write.
Do it.
And, yeah, I mean, I put it on my calendar. Actually, it's on my calendar for 1 o'clock. So we got to wrap this up because I got some writing to do, ladies.
Sure, of course.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
For sure. Before we go, I just want to thank everyone for being here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being with us together. Thank you, LaQuita, again,